let us sit with your right leg crossed in front of the left. And so then we can start to sequence from there. And for just a few rounds of breath, just letting your hands kind of rest either on your thighs, in your lap, maybe even momentarily closing the eyes and just kind of allowing for a big sigh out through the mouth. Let yourself find a seat that you can hold still comfortably for a few breaths. And then bringing the external movement to a minimum, but not in such a way that you start to feel really kind of rigid and holding yourself. Last week we played with this idea of resourcing ourselves from the ground, kind of this sense of yielding to the ground. So feel your body weight, feel especially the lower half of the body releasing and dropping. And then as we begin to kind of feel into the alignment of the spine and the bone structure, finding our support from there, kind of leaning onto the bones, but not in a way that causes us to collapse. So you feel that there's this uprightness or upward moving energy through the spine. And maybe there's a subtle sense that part of that upward movement comes from rooting down and grounding downwards. And so it's a really useful resource to play with, especially in our practice, so that we are optimizing the kind of the use of energy and finding efficient ways to support us, to support stillness and to support movement. And there's even this idea that this sense of yielding down to the ground naturally facilitates a more easeful breath. So give it a few more rounds. Just tuning in, kind of checking the inner weather. And then stay in that state of tuning in and noticing. We'll just take a gentle twist over the right shoulder. So the right hand is going to come behind your back. The left hand is circling forward and maybe coming to the outside of that right thigh. Doesn't have to be a big twist. And so we've taken a posture, but our kind of main focus stays still to kind of notice the downward, upward movement, the rooting and the lifting. The sensing into the inner space. Take a little bit of a deeper breath in. Let yourself grow taller without too much effort, without getting rigid. As you exhale, see how much of that length and space you can keep while relaxing around it. And then see if you can keep your left hand kind of crossed over and holding the thigh, the knee, whatever you can easily reach. You're going to turn your torso back forward and that right hand is going to come up, and then you just slightly lean over to the left so that left hand is just kind of holding, drawing that left shoulder down, and so you get a good breath into the side body. And we'll work with that a little bit today, side body and twists. Finding openness, but also then finding strength. Take another breath in. Perfect. And then let yourself come back to the center. Take that right leg, take the left leg and stretch it forward and place the right foot onto the ground. Keep that right hand behind you. So I'm going to, you stay facing forward. I'm just going to change my position so you can see. So right hand is behind, and then the left hand is reaching up. And as you exhale, let's on the first round just kind of squeeze and curl and come into that twist. And my left hand is going to wrap around that right thigh, and that's your exhale. And do that once more. Inhale, come up and out, reach the hand and even get a little bit of a stretch through the front line of the body. And then exhale, curl and squeeze and hug that knee. Even chin can come into your chest a bit. On the inhale, open. You can stay with the hugging action. If you feel you have more space, you could bring that elbow to the inside of that thigh and curling a little bit more. If you don't feel like you have space for that, then keep the hugging around the thigh and find your own movement with it. So you're coming out of the twist and the front body opens. And then as you exhale, the front body curls and maybe the back body opens a little bit. And a few more times, and feel kind of your abdominals activating as if you're doing an exercise for your abs as you're curling into that twist, the side body, the obliques. One more time, inhale, and then exhale. And then stay in that twist. So either now your elbow is on the outside of that right thigh. That might be too much. So then just come to the hugging motion where the right hand just is hugging. That's your left hand, is hugging that right thigh and then twisting. Doesn't have to be a big twist early in the morning. See if you can find that downward movement through the sit bones and upward movement through the ground without getting overly rigid. Take a breath into the belly, even though it's kind of like squashed there a bit between the thigh there. Imagine the internal organs getting that little massage. One more breath in. And then start to come back to the center. Option is to take that right leg and have the right knee come over the left. We call it half-shoelace pose. We're going to take a forward fold from here, but in a very mild way coming in. If this doesn't work, somehow this is uncomfortable, you could also bring that right thigh, right foot to the inner left thigh. And if this knee is really high up, maybe placing like a pillow or a blanket underneath it. So two options here, having the leg cross over or having the foot come and touch the inner thigh. Let your spine begin to round forward. And if you come forward and feel a lot of pulling at the back of that left knee, then rolled blanket under that left knee. So rolling it up or placing your pillow underneath it. Only come to a point where you start to feel the back line of the body. It can be quite intense early in the morning. The body is stiff. So the head kind of drops as well for a moment, and notice if that feels too much, dropping the head. Then let your head just lift a tiny bit so it's more in line with the spine. So I'm only leaning into a point where I start to feel a tugging, a pulling sensation, maybe along the back of the leg or along the spine there, and then I pause. And if you're new to this, maybe you even back off a little bit. And this is where we hold it for a wee bit longer. Soften into your breath. And what I like to do early in the morning, so think of all of your muscle attachments and fascia attachments going to the base of the skull. So I do just a very tiny movement, not even the neck, but just like a bobbling movement for the neck. So maybe there's like you're stirring a tiny, tiny pot with your chin. And I find that really begins to release the whole back line. Maybe a few yeses as the head moves on its axis, maybe a few wobbles. And just experiment with that. This is just something that I've found that for me, it really loosens up the whole back line if I can work with that insertion there at the top, at the base of the skull. And we have another, let's say 3-4 breaths. So find some sense of stillness. Relax into your muscles. So we hold it in a way that the outer muscles of the body really soften and relax. So we need to be at a place where we don't overly tighten. So that means not too deep, not too aggressive. Widen your breath to the back of the lungs. Let your jaw relax. So the name of the class, Yin and Yang, so we're combining slow with some movement, opening with strengthening. Give it another breath in. And then we'll take a slow walk up and we lie onto our back. We call it the rebound. So we'll give it a moment. So for that stretch that we did, we'll give it a little bit of a time to kind of integrate. So letting the whole body just lie on the back, relaxing the legs, relaxing the arms on the sides, feeling the back line of the body. See if your focus can stay kind of sensing the inner tone, the breath. A few more rounds. See how heavy can you let your body just be, the bones of the body dropping. Deepen breath in, maybe a long breath out through the mouth. So we're learning relaxation, and then in a moment we'll come to a more activated, more dynamic. So the right knee is going to come to the chest, hugging it in. And then we'll do this movement again where we kind of find length and then we'll curl. So stretch your right hand diagonally up above you and stretch the right leg. Sorry, that's the left hand. So opposite hand. Left hand stretches up and out diagonally and you straighten the right leg and then exhale, curl them in. So you're picking your upper body off so the knee comes to chest and that elbow comes maybe even to the outside just like you did before seated. And then as you inhale, you stretch wide, maybe letting the hand and foot find diagonally move away from each other as much as possible, and then exhale, you curl them in. And see if you can make it slow motion so they move apart, 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 and then they move closer, 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 curling in. Opening, 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 finding length in that diagonal plane, and then exhale, curling, curling, curling. You could also feel the front side of the body getting long as you stretch, and then the front line of the body getting short as you curl. And then going one more time, open. And then exhale as the knee comes in, curl in. Now interlock the fingers around both knees, lift your head up, draw the nose towards the knee. This could be where you stay. Or you could lift the left leg slightly off the mat as well. An option is to begin to move the right leg away so it kind of pulls you a little bit higher up so the thigh moves towards the front of the mat. And then final option is where your hands release that thigh and it's your abdominals holding you up. Just one or two more breaths here. And then exhale, release, relax. Keep holding that thigh to your chest, the right thigh. Maybe a little rocking of the head from side to side. Sometimes the chin to chest movement can really kind of tighten the back of the neck. And then see if you can use that thigh as a momentum that brings you up. So I'm taking the hands behind the right thigh, curling it in, and then it pulls me up to seat. Yeah, perfect. And then coming to your cross-legged seat with the left leg crossed in front. So now you're a little bit more familiar of the road that's ahead of us. So maybe again, more of your attention can stay within and you don't have to look out to your screen that much. So twisting over to the left now. And the two forces that we are getting familiar with, again, is that downward movement, that yielding down. And then the potential resource coming up from the ground, helping with supporting the body in that lift upwards. So there's this aliveness, alertness, but there's also softness and ease. Give it another round here. And then keeping that right hand where it is, so it's crossed across the body over that left thigh or knee. The left hand comes up, and then you're leaning over so that we can take a few deeper breaths to the left side. One more. Perfect. And then coming back up to your seat, stepping the left foot onto the mat and straightening the right leg forward. So we're going to twist over again to the left, so the left hand comes back behind you, and then we'll find this movement reaching, and then maybe it's a hugging, and that feels enough. So I'm hugging and wrapping the arm around, or it could be reaching up and then drawing that elbow to the outside of that left thigh. And go a few times. And again, play with this, opening the front and then feeling the muscles activated. Feeling the diagonal line lengthening. So I'm going to even send that right arm a little bit out towards the right and then over towards the left. And a few more times. It's nice to curl with that exhale. And then on your next curl, stay in the twist. So choose to stay hugging the thigh or have the elbow on the outside. So again, play with that, what works. And then root the sit bones down. But see if the shoulders can relax. They're not overly hunched up. Feel the crown of the head lifted. And that lift is not so much an effort, but a yielding action. So this giving actively your body weight down to the ground and then receiving that regenerative force from the ground. Give it another few rounds. And then as you start to turn back to the front, take that left knee now either over the right as much as possible, crossing that leg over, or place the left foot to the inner thigh. So either option for the forward fold. Remember, you could also have that bottom knee, right knee bent with a rolled up blanket or a pillow underneath it. That just makes it easier. We don't want overly strong sensation here. And then beginning to round the back, and how far forward doesn't matter. So the moment you start to feel this pulling sensation. So as I said, like for me in the morning, this one's quite intense. I don't have to lean far at all. I'm already there, I'm feeling it. If that little head bobble worked for you for a few rounds when we just kind of finding our place here, exploring with that, like a little release for just the base of the neck through gentle movement. But eventually, let's explore a place where we can hold some of the stillness, so we don't need to fidget and change and fix. We're at a place where we can really communicate to our muscles that it's safe right now to relax and soften, which again means that we're not too deep in the pose. When we force, our muscles are programmed to protect, so they will actually tense up. So we get more benefits when we work gradually and slowly and with an edge that allows for that softness and ease. Notice what arises. How is your inner world today? Can you hold that without judgment, without needing it to be different? That inner world might be inner world of muscle and bone and fascia. Might be an inner world of emotions, inner world of any stories and narratives, and they're not really also separable from each other. But something might be more in the foreground that you can notice. Another 2 breaths. Remember relaxing the muscles, softening the jaw. And then as we take the longer hold, one of the ways to kind of release that is to take a little bit of a moment on the back again to be in that rebound. So we'll just find now surrender. We find the surrender in a very embodied way as you give your body weight here again to the ground, quite passive. Noticing the sensations that are there after the posture, noticing them changing. Again, learning when to be on and when to be off. Often, like I've found for me, sometimes the off button really works. It's hard to relax. And so here, small doses of that, of being off. And then hugging that left knee to your chest. So we're coming to those side curls. So it's going to be opposite hand, opposite knee. So stretching the right hand up and above diagonally, and for a moment stretch that left leg again on the mat, and then exhale, curl either elbow to the inside, outside, whatever you can reach. My upper body lifts off as well. And then a few times like this. Open, feel length, explore, reach fingers away from toes, exhale, curling in as much as possible. Inhale, open, lengthen, exhale, curl in. Just the amount. You don't have to make it overly difficult. Just enjoy the movement. Enjoy that unfurling and curling. And then we'll go twice more. And the next time when the knee comes in, hold it, interlock your fingers around it, keep your head lifted if it works. If it starts to get too much, you could also bring one hand and support the back of the head. Stay here or lift the right leg off. Option 3, track 3, could be to start to move that left thigh away so it pulls you even higher off the ground. And then final option is to let go of the knee. So now the hands are letting go and the abdominals are holding you up. Ooh. One more breath. And then exhale, relax onto your back again. Roll your head very lazily from side to side. Relax your jaw. And then see again if you can use that knee that is bent into your chest as a kind of lever that pulls you up. So I hold the back of the thigh. I pull it in and then it draws me up to seat. Good. And then one more thing from here, seated. So we're going to have so you're going to stay facing forward and you're going to stretch your right leg a little bit out towards the right. Or actually you can keep it stretched forward. Let's keep it stretched forward. And then as your left knee drops out, it opens a little bit. The hip opens out a little bit. All right, so there's a bit more space between the two legs. And first, rotate again over to the right. So did I say right leg forward? Did I say right leg forward? Okay. So now I'm not mirroring. So right leg is forward. Over the left shoulder. So right hand over the left knee. Yeah. So you twisting over towards that bent knee. Take a breath in. And then as your left hand starts to lift up towards the ceiling, I'm going to change the position of the right hand and it's going to come inside that right leg. And so I'm leaning over, taking a side bend. Some of you maybe can even get that elbow down towards the ground. But again, just coming to a point where you feel that side body. So left hand coming up and over. My right hand has switched and it's inside that right leg. Breathing into the side. Give it 2 more breaths here. And then begin to release the left hand, face back forward and step the sole of the left foot onto the mat, both hips facing forward, right leg is straight. And this might be a little bit more of a dynamic thing, so I'm going to give an option to simply rotate yourself now over with the right hand behind you, and this could be where you'll stay. Or starting to lean that right hand slightly behind you. I'm going to put weight onto the left foot and to the kind of outer plate of the right foot and lift the hips up. So now this is a bit of a strengthening. I'm going to hug that right shoulder blade down along the back. Left hand is going to reach up and then maybe up and forward behind your head. I'm on the ball of the left foot. That works for me better than having the whole foot down on the ground. And again, remember, if it doesn't work, keep your bum down and just stay twisting towards the back of the mat. Give it 1 more breath. Feel that side line of the body. And then as you exhale, coming back. And then once more, you're going to curl over into that twist over the left shoulder. Just 1 or 2 breaths here. So I just curled over, hugging that left thigh, taking a breath in, taking a breath out, and then back to the front, switching the leg, so having the left leg come forward, letting the right knee bend out to the side, and then opening that hip just a tiny bit out, so you have a little bit more space here. We're going to rotate over to the right first, so taking that right hand towards the back and left hand over the knee and finding again length in the spine. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. The hand that's behind you, right hand, is going to start to reach up towards the ceiling and then just shuffling, changing that left hand so it comes inside the left foot, the left thigh, shin bone, knee, whatever works, and then beginning to lean over. So 1 more side stretch here. Let's give it 2-3 breaths. Perfect. Begin to bring the arm back up. Coming back up to your seat, facing back towards the front of the mat, so a little shuffling with the sit bones, stepping the sole of the right foot down onto the ground. An easy variation is just to twist over that left shoulder, so hand back behind you, onto that back arm. If you want to play a little bit, kind of a variation, sometimes called a variation of a wild thing, so left hand on the mat a little bit further back behind you, and then starting to bring weight onto your feet. That shoulder blade, left shoulder blade, really hugging down along the back. Chest can lift up towards the ceiling, right hand up, and maybe even send it back behind you. So strong legs, strong side body. One more breath. And then exhale, slowly bring the hips back down and curl and turn over to the right, so the right hand goes behind you. So you're once more twisting. Breath in. Good. And then coming back towards the center and over to hands and knees. Bring a few cat and cows in here. So inhaling, lifting chest, lifting sit bones. Exhale, rounding to the back. As we often do here, begin to get a little bit more organic and creative. So rather than just in that linear plane up and down, how are some different ways that your spine can move? That your hips can wiggle? You could stay small, you could get bigger. Feel again into the side ribs, the waistline. Taking your time with this. Stay moving and wiggling on all fours. So take this exploration towards downward facing dog. So the toes tuck under and pressing the hands down and forward, lifting the hips away from the hands, knees can be bent. And the same wiggle, you can keep wiggling there in downward facing dog. Hips can move, releasing the head. And if it feels too much at any point, if today that feels like you want to work a little bit closer to the ground, then bring your knees back down. We'll stay another 2-3 breaths. And then we're beginning to bring the right foot forward to the top of the mat. So it could be that you are stepping from downward facing dog. If you need to release your knees down and then get the right foot forward, then you could do that to the top. And the back knee settles down. And we'll do our little flow with starting to straighten into that front leg, however much it's willing to straighten, and then coming and bending it again, and then letting that left hip drop down towards the ground. So a few times like that. If you have blocks, then that can be super handy here, but you just might not have them. That just creates some extra space for the movement. If you don't have them, then you don't have to have the leg go all the way straight. Come to a point where you feel the back of the leg and then letting that back hip drop. Next time the foot is on the ground, spend a few moments feeling more into the hip flexor. So that's in front of your left thigh. That's one part of the movement. So feel into that. Let it drop towards the ground. Take a breath. And then let's do the opposite movement where you straighten the leg, feeling now, giving it a moment here to feel into the back of the leg. So I'm knee, however straight it comes. And just this crown of the head moving forward. Take another few breaths, relax your shoulders, your jaw. One more. Then let's place the front foot back down onto the ground and find a twist from here. So the left hand comes under the left shoulder, maybe make a little bit of space, walking the right foot out towards the right as the right hand comes up. Option is to take the back knee off the ground by tucking the back toes under, or stay more grounded variation where the back knee is down and holding part of the weight so the legs don't have to work that hard. Give it one more breath here. Stay in a twist, but simply look down. And then as you exhale, bring the hand down onto the ground, and we'll explore this twist from that leg straighter or straightish variation. And it might not work, so then you come back to this one. So I'm going to straighten the front leg. I'm going to let that outer right hip drop towards the ground. There's a little bit more challenge maybe for the balance, and then rotating that right hand back and up, keeping the spine long. I'm actually on top of my left fingertips to get a little bit more height. It just has a different feel to it. Giving it another breath here. And then as you look down, bring that right hand to the inside of the right foot. I'm going to tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee up. And then we do our walk where I walk halfway towards the back leg. I pivot on the front foot, so both feet are going to be facing forward. And a little hip glide here, so bending into the left knee, bending into the right knee as the hips move from side to side. You could keep your hands grounded, so we do this almost every class, so those of you who know it, feel free to start to make it your own. So it could be hands grounded, it could be that the hands come off the ground and they just start to kind of move more organically as you glide from side to side. Stay somewhere again that it doesn't become stressful or painful. And just one or two to each side. Perfect. And then the hands pause when they're under the shoulders. I'm going to bend just into the right knee now. And I'm going to walk the hands a little bit over towards the right. And the chest turns, so the chest turns more in line with the right thigh. And you can keep the hands on the ground. You can bring the hands onto that lower right leg. And slowly starting to straighten into the right knee. So again, you are in a bit of a twist, but also the hamstring at the back of the right leg. You'll feel that there lengthening. So a few breaths here. Let the back of the neck be long. One more. And then as you release, walk the hands under the shoulders. So you bring your chest kind of away from the ground, feet are strongly planted, and then we'll include one more thing here, a twist. So right hand comes under your face, and again, if you can't get the palm down, it could be just fingertips down, or if you have a block, it could be block under that hand. So left hand under the face, and right hand is going to reach up towards the ceiling for a moment. And then we're going to find the side body lengthening here. So I'm going to send the right hand forward. So the arm is hovering kind of parallel to the ground, sending the right hip kind of lengthening towards the back. And then as I exhale, I come back to the twist. Inhale, lengthen fingertips forward, away from the hip, the side body's long arm is parallel to the ground. And then as you exhale, twist. And then one more like this. Forward, 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 long side body. Exhale into a twist. Taking that right hand and kind of wrapping it around the back, so giving it a little break so back of the hand can come onto the lower back, or maybe even slide and grab onto the inner left thigh. Option to keep the left hand where it is under your face, or move it over towards that right foot. So opposite hand to opposite foot. That might be too intense, then bring the hand back under your face at the center. And another 2-3 breaths. Very good. One more breath in. One more breath out. Start to unwrap the hand behind your back, bend slightly into the right knee. Hands are now going to walk to either side of the right foot, so to the top of the mat, pivoting the feet again so that you can step the right leg back and be back in downward facing dog. Take a breath in Take a slow breath out. Let your knees settle down onto the ground. Take your buttocks back towards the heels. Child's pose. Keep the hands reached forward. Maybe even the forehead touches the mat for a moment. If it doesn't, then just keep it hovering. And we come to all fours with a really rounded back on the inhale. So keeping the chin to your chest. Inhale, round to all fours. Lift your chest, lift your sit bones, and exhale, pressing the buttocks back towards the heels. Let the head drop. Inhale, really rounding back. Feel the front body curling, and then exhale, chest lifts, bum goes back to heels. And once more, round. Perfect. Come to all fours. You could stay. Let me think, what's an easier variation? Easier variation of this could be stay on all fours, lifting the feet off the mat and then moving the feet a little bit from side to side. So this is easier variation. Or come to plank pose. Walk your feet a little bit wider than your hips and then move your heels from side to side. Go to the blades of the feet on one side, blades of the feet on the other side. Find that rebound from the ground so you're not collapsing into your shoulders. Feel the side body, both lengthening, but both kind of like stretching and strengthening. And one more time to each side. And then at the center, we're going to either drop the knees, or if you feel super strong today, you could keep them up and we lower 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On the belly. Take a small moment here. Maybe make a little pillow out of your hands. Let the forehead rest on the back of your hands and let your hips just rock from side to side. And then we'll find our back body strengthener here. So as you reach the arms back, start to lift your torso off the mat. So your back muscles engaging. And then maybe the legs lift off the mat as well. Give it another 2 breaths. Very good. Releasing down. Bringing the hands under your shoulders, hugging the elbows in, tops of the feet, pressing onto the ground, finding your cobra. So slowly pressing away from the ground, just finding the height that works for you. Lower, higher, move the shoulders a few times so you see that there's options here. Let the shoulders then travel down along the back. And let's see to curl out from here. Let your head drop as if you kind of like the cat is lifting the kittens at the back of the neck. Feel like there's a pull there. And then there's a curl. Navel curls back. You round the back and the buttocks go back towards the heels. You're back in child's pose. Taking a breath in. Taking a breath out. If you need a little longer moment in child's pose, stay here, otherwise downward facing dog. Wherever you are, take a longer breath in, allow for a longer breath out. Notice again that inner weather, what's in the foreground. And then we'll begin to meet in downward facing dog or on all fours so that you can bring your left foot forward. So all of this for the opposite side. So we find the lunge, left foot forward, right knee back. And recognize when that hip drops, right hip drops towards the ground. We access the front of that right hip flexors. When you begin to straighten into that left leg, we're slowly asking for a little bit of a lengthening here from the back of the leg, hamstrings, and then oscillate between the two. Let yourself drop forward, find the hip flexors, press the ground away, straighten that front leg, or straightish, doesn't have to go all the way straight. Feel the muscles at the back of that left leg. Feel into those sensations, and I'm really advising just go to kind of that edge of stretch and don't really push beyond that. Feel that sensation. The next time when you have the left foot on the mat and right hip dropping down, pause there and give it a few rounds of breath for the hip flexor there in front of the right hip. Gravity pulling that hip down. I even include often a little bit of rolling movement here. And then let's give a moment for the hamstring as well. So as you walk the hands back and as you straighten into that left leg, coming to a point where you feel that stretchy sensation at the back of the left leg, and then we'll pause there for a couple of breaths. And then we'll explore a twist. So we let the sole of the foot come down onto the mat, and we'll take a twist by having the right hand stay down on the mat under the right shoulder and left hand lift up. Lifting the right knee up is optional. So a twist from this plane. And then as you lower that left hand, that a little bit more awkward one is where we come back to we call it half Hanuman pose or half splits. And we try to twist from here. So having that right hand go a little bit over to the right, left hand back and up and lifts. And I'm on top of my fingertips again here to gain a bit of height, letting the outer left hip drop down towards the ground. So I'm accessing a little bit of that waistline here. And then look down, bring the left hand to the inside of that left foot. And we'll do our walk halfway, so the back knee lifts. And you walk halfway over towards the back leg. And once more, there's a little hip gliding moment here. You could walk your feet a bit closer or wider. Just find that distance where you feel stable. See if you can get more kind of organic and creative with this. So I often include this seaweed movement. So hips lead and the spine follows and the head is kind of the last. So it starts to make this wavy movement. But again, that's just what I've found interesting for my body. It might be something different for you. So as you can sense, there's no precise science. It's just being in the body and playing here. Just a few more. And then we'll turn our attention again to the hamstring, the back of that left leg. So I'm going to bend into that left knee, walk my hands over towards the left foot, and then starting to turn torso over the left thigh as well, and slowly straightening the left knee. Doesn't have to go all the way straight. So again, you notice when you feel a sensation at the back of the left leg, you're doing the pose. And we give it a few breaths here. Relax the jaw. Maybe connecting to the soles of the feet, so that sense of yielding and resourcing from the ground is still there. One more. Perfectly done. You're going to walk yourself back to the center, so the palms are down, and we come into a twist exploration. So the right hand under your face, or fingertips, or block. As the left hand goes up, we'll find that little movement from here where the arm reaches forward, so the arm bone kind of hovers over your ear, reaches away from the hip, gets the side body long, and then your exhale is going to twist you back, arm back up towards the ceiling. So in your own time, a couple of more times. Inhale, side body long, exhale, coming back towards the twist. Reaching, lengthening, and then there's a bit of coming back, twisting, and then one more. Next time when the arm is up, try the variation where you start to wrap the hand behind. So I'm kind of turning the thumb towards the back. The back of the hand is either on the lower back, or maybe it even wraps around and grabs the inner right thigh, depends how long your arms are. Keep that right hand under your face, or begin to move it a little bit closer to the right foot. So now you have twist and the hamstring stretch there at the back of the left leg. Knees can be bent, they don't have to be straight. Especially that left knee, feel free to bend it. Give it another breath in. Turn your gaze down, unwrap the hands. This time, come back to the center with the hands kind of more in line with the toes. Let the head hang forward. Ground the feet, spread the soles of the feet so you're in wide-legged forward fold. And then walk the hands under your shoulders, soften into your knees a bit, press your feet onto the ground, and then roll up to standing. All right. Let's point the right toes towards the back of the mat, and the left toes are slightly pointing in. We're coming to Trikonasana, so the legs are maybe about 1 meter apart, so not super wide. See if you can find your hip crease. So this is your waistline. This is not what I mean. Travel the hands a little bit further down, so where the hip bone is, so down, not up but down, and see if you can find that there's a pivot from there. So this is where I'm pivoting. So the left hip is going to move a little bit out towards the left, and there's a pivot here. The pelvis is rolling over the right thigh bone, coming over that right leg, letting that left hip slightly lean forward, and then take your right hand somewhere on that right leg shin bone where you can reach. Feel your rib cage. I even draw that left hand kind of touching the underside of the ribs, and then guiding them to roll up towards the ceiling, and then the left hand stretching up and out. Ground both feet firmly onto the mat. That front knee maybe is a little bit buoyant. Stay here, or do a few times where that left hand is going to reach forward. So similarly like we did in the twist, it's hovering above your ear, reaching forward towards the back of your mat. And then as you exhale back into Trikonasana with the hand up towards the ceiling. One more time. So you access the side body. If this is too much, keep the hand straight up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hand up. Give it another breath here. Look down, so don't strain your neck. Maybe a little bend into that front knee as you find your strong legs pressing back up to standing. Exhale, lower the hands. And then let's switch the legs towards the front of the mat. So you're going to have your left toes pointing towards the front, right toes pointing in. I hope again that instruction is clear. So the grease of the hip, rather than bending forward from the waistline, finding the grease of the hip so it's a little bit lower, and then starting to lean over, letting that top hip slightly soften forward so you don't have to square it open and up. So releasing, giving space for the lower back. Left hand is finding its place. Forget about trying to get it on the ground. Feel now your bottom rib cage, and even maybe touch it with the top hand and kind of guide it to roll upwards away from that bottom thigh. Right hand is up, both legs are firmly planted, rooted. And then twice the option is to send that right arm forward on the inhale, and then reach it back up towards the ceiling on the exhale. Side body long, 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 and then it reaches back up. And one last one, forward, and then it reaches back up. Again, press the feet down firmly, rising up on the inhale, lowering the arms, pointing the left toes forward. We come back to forward fold. As you settle in, just for a moment, relaxing, releasing the head down towards the ground, grounding the feet. And then walk the hands over towards the top of your mat, so around the left foot. Step back to downward facing dog. Take a moment here. Breath in. Slow breath out. And then similarly, either come to plank or lower your knees down and get your side wiggle from here. So it's just knees on the ground and feet are going to be moving from side to side, or come to this variation of side plank flow with your feet a bit wider. Option here is to just keep moving the feet, or when your feet go over to the right, the left hand circles back and up and forward, and then back down, heels lift, heels drop to the left, and right hand comes back and up and forward. So please choose something that works for your body. Don't overdo it. Once more to the left. And then when you have both hands, both feet on the mat, slowly beginning to lower down. 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Let's take a little break. Place your hands, forehead onto the palms, letting the hips wiggle to side. Relax the shoulders. Getting ready for our Shalabhasana Locust, the back strengthener. So lifting the upper body, maybe the legs off the ground as well. And then imagine that your right hand wants to kind of reach down towards that right knee. So you're squeezing into the right side, lengthening to the left. And then there's the opposite. And you move a few times from side to side. Over to one side, over to the other. So squeezing one side of the body, opening the other. And then relaxing onto the ground. Once more into your cobra. So having the feet planted, hands under the shoulders, elbows hug in. You lift up and away from the ground. Again, just the right amount so you don't feel too much pressure in the lower back. Again, let the shoulders move a few times. Give it another breath. Drop your chin down, start to curl the belly away from the ground, hugging back. The front body gets really short. Back body starts to get long as you curl and round the back and let the buttocks land back towards the heels, child's pose. Take a longer breath in. Take a slow exhale out. One more. And then either, again, you come to downward facing dog as a way of transitioning, or you could also do this from all fours, bringing the right knee forward to the right side of the mat. So that it's not the foot, it's the knee that comes forward. Back knee comes down. Walking that back leg further backwards, so we call it pigeon, or in Yin we call it swan. So we stay a little bit longer now in this one. So you could let yourself really drop over to that right side so the right buttock comes down, so that's totally okay. If you prefer to stay more kind of even with the hips, then you can slide something under that right buttock and then beginning to bring your forearms down onto the ground. So taking it slow. We'll hold it for a couple of minutes. So tune in if that right knee is giving you any complaints here. Then you could let yourself, I'm just showing a variation of this, could be also to bring that left knee all the way forward. So rather than left leg back, left knee comes forward, and maybe that feels a little bit more accessible. So play with that. So where we want to feel it is in the right buttock and in the right outer thigh. And we want the right knee, there's no discomfort in the right knee. We're coming back to that slower yin mode that we were in towards the beginning of the practice. So coming back to that place where you guide the muscles to soften, you're inviting relaxation and ease, and letting really the body weight now drop to the ground. Sometimes in the moving practice, we can be kind of quite centered in a way that there's always instructions coming towards us, and then now we're suddenly in a place where there's not much that we need to do. So notice what comes into the foreground here. Again, that inner weather. Noticing if there's been change. Can we hold that with tenderness and kindness and ease? Let's give it another 3 breaths. And then begin to walk yourself up. To come out, we're going to lean over onto that right side. So bringing your body weight over and swinging the left leg forward. And we lie onto our backs, and we include another posture for the right side of the body. So as you lie on the back, begin to walk your feet over to the left, and your upper body shuffles over to the left as well. So we call it half moon pose, or sometimes it's called Pananasana. You can also bring your arms up above. They can be arms wide, or could be that you hold your right wrist with your left hand, but just make sure that again the shoulder can relax, whatever you choose. So we're feeling now this stretchy pulling sensation along the right side of the body. So into that side bend, but in a very passive way now. Here, there's also an option to cross either right ankle over left or left ankle over right. That's a personal preference. You don't have to cross the leg, so you can just experiment what feels more stable. Where is that, again, that right amount of intensity that really allows you to still soften and relax. Come and check the muscles in your face. So remind the jaw to soften, the hinge of the jaw. Feel your tongue relaxing on the, spreading on the floor of the mouth. And feel your forehead smooth. Again, we're in that space where there's no effort is required. Everything can drop, drop, drop. All that is kind of encouraged is to keep returning to the sensory awareness. So the sensations, again, that inner weather, that inner landscape. Feeling the sensations, feeling the feelings. About 5 more breaths. Relax, release as much as the body is willing. Now let yourself slowly find your way back to the center. Bring the legs back. And notice how sometimes in this posture I sometimes feel more intensity as I come out than when in the pose. So let's give it a moment. We'll add a twist to this as well before we do the opposite side. So let us feel the afterglow of this particular pose and what it has, especially on that right side. If you need longer here, take longer. Taking a twist is, you could take a favorite twist. I'm going to take feet on the mat and crossing that right leg over the left. So that kind of still keeps stimulating the right sideline of the body. But if crossing the leg feels too much, you could just keep your legs parallel. So my right leg is over the left. I hop my hips a little bit over to the right, and then I take the thighs over to the left. Right hand stretches out to the right, maybe moves a little bit higher, or maybe straight out from the shoulder, maybe the elbow bends. Also variation here where you take the palm of the hand behind your head. So your elbow is pointing out to the side. If you find that it's uncomfortable the way the knees are hovering, see if you have a pillow or something that you can bring under your knees. And about a minute here in the twist. Remember, if the wrapping of the legs feels too much, uncomfortable, awkward, unwrap them and just right thigh resting on top of the left thigh, they parallel, and taking a twist that way. Notice the muscles that are maybe still active unnecessarily, that you could take a little journey through the body and feeling into the textures, but also feeling into the tensions that are there just out of a habit of holding. One breath at a time, teaching the creature of the body to let go, to trust. And then starting to roll onto your back again. You could keep the feet on the mat and take a constructive rest as a pause. So, which means your feet are going to walk a bit wider than hips and the knees are resting against each other. That can release the psoas muscle. It also relaxes the lower back. Maybe feel the lower back spreading on the mat. And feel your top of your chest also spreading, relaxing the collarbones. Again, for a moment, nothing to do, no effort. And then we'll use a little abdominal movement to bring ourselves back up to do the opposite side. So move your knees away from each other, soles of the feet are on the mat. Lift your hips up and take your palms underneath your hips. So you're going to sit on top of your wrists. The thumbs are touching and the palms of the hands are down on the mat. Then lifting the legs up towards the ceiling. Bringing your chin to your chest, so lift your head off the mat, looking forward. Take a breath in. As you exhale, begin to lower your legs. Lower them until they hover above the ground. Take another breath in, and as you exhale, press your elbows onto the ground and pivot yourself up to your seat. And then we take the pigeon for the opposite side. So keeping the left knee forward, starting to send the right leg back. So take a little bit of a time to find your edge here as you lean in. See if you're going to curl over to that left side, maybe changing where that right knee, right thigh is. Elbows can come onto the ground, or even releasing the forehead down towards the ground or placing it onto your fists, or if you have a block, forehead on a block. So now coming to the left side of the body, starting with the left buttock, the left outer hip. Let yourself stay aware of the body, the sensations. Let yourself release control as you feel the body weight sinking onto the ground, muscles relaxing, bones heavy. And then another breath here, beginning to slowly transition. So remember, we walking up and leaning over to the left to bring the right foot forward, right leg forward, and then all the way onto the back. Staying with the left side of the body, so as you come onto your back, you can begin to walk your feet over to the right and shuffle your upper body over to the right as well. Choose a position for the arms. They don't have to go up above if that's uncomfortable. And then choosing to cross the ankles or not. And again, I'm going to give some silence and stillness here. Let your own attention settle more deeply. Keep guiding the attention back when you find yourself too much up in the thought realm. Felt sense. Softness. Surrender and trust. What nourishes? About 3 more breaths. And then begin to bring the arms back, Bring the legs back. Pause for a moment. Feel the left side. And when you're ready, taking a twist, so whatever twist you did on the opposite side. If you're crossing the thighs, it's this time the left thigh crosses over the right, and then the knees go to the right, left hand to the left. If you choose not to cross them, just left thigh resting on top of the right thigh. Another breath in. And as you roll onto your back, starting to set yourself up for your Shavasana, for your final relaxation here. If you need something else, if you need to hug your knees in or bring a little bit of rocking movement in, please do. For your relaxation, just make it as comfortable as possible. If you like something under your knees, a pillow, a bolster, maybe a blanket to cover, maybe something to cover the eyes. Time-wise, we have about 6 minutes for this, so if you want longer, then you might want to either leave the meeting or silence your device. If you want to stay in my timeline, then know that in about 6 minutes I'll ring a bell and I'll bring you out of the relaxation. So let yourself really settle. Just draw you into a few kind of points of somatic inquiry and then leave you in silence. I again encourage you to feel into the weight of the body as you start to settle here, letting that represent surrender, the weight of the body, kind of actively keep giving it to the ground, to the earth. Feel your big thigh bones, your long thigh bones heavy and dropping, so you really feel that you're not holding your legs in any way. Feel your pelvis, your hips. Heavy, 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 sinking, sinking, sinking. And then sensing the upper back, the shoulder blades, the back of the arms. Give it to the ground. With every exhale, a little bit more of you sinks or melts or dissolves, however you imagine it. No effort. No need to hold yourself in any way. No need to present yourself in any way. Coming more into being. So if you feel like moving, you're in your own house, so you don't have to. But if you feel like moving, then you could start to bring some deeper breath in and just recognize if you want to move small ways, fingers, toes, or stretch a little bit bigger on the mat. Eventually, if you're coming more upright, closing with me, then you can hug the knees in and roll to one side. And then curling yourself up to a seat, any seat that feels comfortable. And once more, just a short moment of here, just tuning in, checking in, what's in the foreground, without judgment, without needing to fix it or change it, just as a way of knowing better what's alive within you. And an option is to close with me with one as you sing in your own space. So if you're doing that, I like to bring the hands into prayer, but you could also just touch your chest, touch your belly, hands on the thighs. If you want to sing, let's empty the breath out together and then draw a breath in and then singing. Thank you very much.